Very well. Now it's time for us now to take a look at what has been on the front pages of our local dailies and what has been covered and what has been happening over the past 1 week. As I said earlier, it has been an eventful weekend, and moving forward, the campaign period officially is on, and we expect some kind of high-octane politics moving forward. And yes, 11 presidential candidates faced the Electoral and Boundaries Commission Chair Wafula Chebukati at the Bomas of Kenya, and only 5 of them have so far secured a slot from aspirants to candidates. And today I want us to just to go through what are some of the key issues raised during that particular event, what we are supposed to be facing moving forward with slightly over 60 days to the polls. All right, so with me in studio, I have got Katisya, who is a political analyst and an advocate of the High Court. There you have him. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Victor.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Victor, and I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
As well as Noordean, Khagai, who is also an advocate and a political analyst, joining me on the set for the first time. How are you, gentlemen? Noordean.
Good morning. I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana. So, gentlemen, it's now officially on from aspirants to candidates. But before we get into that, Kevin, last week but one when you were here, I think you have to denounce your sentiments.
Which sentiments, Victor?
Yes.
You can remind me.
Allow me to remind you that we talked about Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka going to the ballot, and all of a sudden things changed. What happened?
Once again, Victor, even you should expect more changes, even between now and 9th of August. Because in politics, Victor, someone has to look at consider various factors before making a decision. And Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka had the right to go all the way to the ballot. But he consulted widely, and you heard him read his statement where he consulted the professionals, the clergy, especially the clergy, and his own party. And he was of the opinion that joining or continuing working with Azimio and accepting the offer given to him was the best way forward. So I think as a Kenyan, he has the right to associate with any particular group, and he chose to remain in Azimio, and I think that is his personal choice, and in my opinion that was a good decision, because you see energy has to be concentrated in one team so as to counter the Kenya Kwanza team.
Yes,
truth be told, the Kenya Kwanza team is a strong team, and Azimio without Kalonzo was not as strong as it is now. That's why you have seen after he joined back Azimio, you have seen the Kenya Kwanza team putting all manner of allegations, saying, oh, 1 million voters have been removed from their stronghold. How do they know that they have been removed and they have not seen the voter register? So I think on the issue of Wiper, I think it needed serious consultation. Because remember, Victor, the position which was being offered before was not anchored in any sort of agreement. But here you see Honorable Kalonzo and Raila and President Uhuru Kenyatta sitting down again and having to agree on some issues. Because remember, he has a large following, and he has to take care of the interest of his followers countrywide. No, people are mistaking him to be just having Kamba supporters, forgetting that Wiper is the third largest political party in the country. Third largest political party, with following
aspirants
and followers across the country. So he has to balance the interest of all these people. And if there is anything from the government, it has to be something which is substantive. Look at Kenya Kwanza, for example, and we all know that Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka's stronghold is Ukambani. Everybody knows that. What has Kenya Kwanza offered Ukambani, for example? Is there anything which they have offered Ukambani people? Nothing. Yeah. Look at this position being offered by Azimio, Chief Minister, or we can call it even Prime Minister, plus other perks. in the government, a good share of the government. Of course,
what are the specifics which were offered to Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka to make that change of tune?
That has not been made public, Victor,
yes.
For their own good reasons. But I'm sure him being a senior counsel and being a senior politician in this country, he was able to secure a good deal for his people. And I'm sure at the right time, maybe the same will be made public. But when you see him saying, now I'm okay with this, it means he's fully comfortable that his people have now a good say. And remember, even in Azimio lineup,
yes,
he's number 3. Yeah, because we have the presidential candidate Raila Odinga, we have the deputy presidential candidate Martha Karua, and him, the chief minister. Then the others follow.
That is exactly what he wanted, a 3-legged stool candidate.
And that's how it is. So you can see he has achieved what he wanted to achieve. That is not the 3-legged stool, Victor. Remember, President Uhuru Kenyatta is the chair of the council, but now the people who will be in the government after 9th of August will be Raila, Mother and Kalonzo. It's a 3-legged stool. And being there as a chief minister, Victor, remember that is a very powerful position, yeah, supervising all government projects and being in charge of all ministries. It's not a mean position, yeah. And of course, as much as, you know, the deputy president is the principal assistant to the president,
right. But
now here we see a prime minister like person who is now overseeing all government projects.
Of the government.
So it's a very serious and superior position. And I think those are the things he was considering, and for him to ensure that the position is not just a position for the sake of it. Yeah, there are some perks to it. Yeah, and there is some leverage whereby now he's number 3 in the pecking order. So I think, Victor, we must appreciate that Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka did a good negotiation for his party and for himself. And believe you me, with that kind of package, he will be able to deliver more than even 100% of his voter base. Unlike the Kenya Kwanza team. If you look at what they're offering, for example, the government is being shared like maybe with 3 regions.
Yes.
Mount Kenya, where we have Rigathi, Western, where we have now Musalia and Wetangula, and Rift Valley, the president. Look at these other regions. Look at the coast. What does the coast people have? Nothing. For Azimio, you can see Joe has been given a cabinet position.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's lands. Yeah. If you look at Northeastern, what is there for the people of Northeastern, for example, in Kenya Kwanza? If you look at the other regions in Kenya, in Masai, for example, what is there for the Masais? So I think Azimio, just as its name, has ensured that there's inclusivity, in my opinion. All the other various communities in Kenya are well represented in Azimio, unlike in Kenya Kwanza. Right. So with regards to Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, Victor, and believe you me, and people know that he has always been the kingmaker. I believe this time round, he'll be indeed a kingmaker, and that's why you have seen the Kenya Kwanza team running out there and making... I'm
still stuck there at that particular point, but let me get your opening remarks, Noordean. He's saying that Kalonzo Musyoka is now the perceived kingmaker. I don't know where you buy the same point, because before he joined, the Azimio La Umoja train, they said that had left the station. So Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka is joining the train along the way. I don't know whether they're in Voi, somewhere in Manyani, or on their way to Nairobi. What's your opening remark?
You see, first, I believe that they understand for you to be declared as the winner, you have to have 50+1. They do believe that they have a good number, or rather the formations they came up with. Remember, there's a time there's something called Azimio Mashinani,
yes,
when Oka was still deliberating and moving how they're going to move. Now, the thing is, they needed Kalonzo so to complete that threshold, 50+1, because if they want to win this thing, round 1, as they are saying, they have to have everybody on board. Because if Kalonzo decided to vie, for example, there was a chance he would split the votes and end up making them go for a runoff. Or that is what has been said about Oka. But now, you see, Kalonzo, I tend to think he must be a hip-hop student. Because there's a song by Fat Joe who says, yesterday's prize is not today's prize. So Kalonzo playing hardball with Raila is because they've been there together for a while now. And he understands yesterday's prize, today you need me more. I think that's why. Because at the end of the day...
Is that the case right now?
At the end of the day, let me tell you, at the end of the day, you see, politics is a game of interests. That is why yesterday Raila, when they were at IBC, he said, when you see our opponents, not enemies, it's a game of interest. They only differ on interests. And so the eye is always constant. And that is what Kalonzo was looking for. You see, in taking this time, he needed to feel some certain safety in that once we take over government, I will not be thrown to the sideline. You know, you see, our politics is made of deceit and conmanship. That is what you always hear every other day, deceit, conmanship. And there's always that suspicion that you might go and forget about an agreement we made, because we have so many MOUs in this country that have never been fulfilled, starting from 2002 even, you know. So at the end of the day...
So he was cautious about those MOUs?
Him playing hardball was to cater for his interest. In that, if you want me to... You remember, there's a time Mutula was saying Kitaumana, because they say that chief minister, what is chief minister? That is just a title where you can be demoted tomorrow or fired. So I think there was a time they say they wanted it anchored in the agreement. I don't know if that happened, because the Register of Political Parties said she has not received any amendment to what was filed by Azimio. And if it will happen in the course of time. So I believe any concerns he had, because I'm sure he had concerns, any concerns he had as a politician, for him to join them finally, it means that they have already moved beyond those concerns. And that is why he's ready to campaign for the Rarua ticket, as it's been called. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure he had to swallow humble pie and accept Martha as a deputy, because he wanted to become the deputy. But you see, as per the situations, as per the current situation, and the lineup, it was going to be hard for him to be picked by Raila Odinga, because he had to counter whatever was being done by William Ruto to make sure William Ruto doesn't get 90% votes of Mount Kenya. So it was a balancing act, and I believe he has agreed. That's why they're moving together. But I will tell you for sure, both camps, the art of conmanship, deceit, and suspicion is always going to be part of our politics, because we have never moved away from it. People have always lied to one another, and when they get there, they realize what is really awaiting them. So that is why our politicians are always skeptical, you realize. And I understand where he was coming from, but now that he's there, I'm sure, as the papers are saying, we are in for a tough time, being Raila Amolo Odinga's last chance, since that we're looking at his age, for example, and seeing that William Ruto, he's saying he has never lost an election. So you can imagine him saying that they have never started campaigning, that now they will campaign. That's what they said. So you can imagine the campaign we're going to go into moving forward. So that is why I believe...
It's going to be brutal.
That's why I believe they needed everyone on board, because they say now Kambani is locked. You get? They say now they have Kalonzo, Kivuda, and Ngilu. So it was more or less like, I think they are trying to create the NAC 2-2 kind of thing, because when you look at it, the only thing they don't have is Amboga Botun.
I'll come to that later on. But Katisya, he's saying that Kalonzo had to swallow humble pie, because it took a lot of time for the negotiations. At some point, it was intimated that they met, President Kenyatta and Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka met in the UK, and negotiations, Honorable Gideon Moi also played a key role, and a host of other legal minds were behind those talks. But did he have to swallow humble pie?
I don't agree with that particular statement of swallowing a humble pie, because remember, Victor, you know, we always say that it is never done until it is done. And the only moment that the train left the station was yesterday. The train did not leave the station when campaigns began. Remember, yesterday is when Raila was cleared. So the train left the station yesterday. And Honorable
with everybody on board now.
Yes, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka was there.
I see where you're coming from.
Yes, so he was there, and they left together. Yeah, because, you know, the Raila was not a candidate before yesterday. Yeah, so the issue of swallowing humble pie, I don't agree, because, you know, this is politics, and the politics is interest. Remember, we have Azimio, La Umoja one side, and Oka the other side, and these two sides are advocating their interests. Yes. Remember now, Azimio has produced a presidential candidate. Remember, even from the beginning, the name was changed to Azimio La Umoja One Kenya Coalition. Remember, in One Kenya, we had Martha Karua, Kalonzo Musyoka, Gideon Moi, Wetangula, Mudavadi. Remember, from the beginning. And of course, in Azimio, we had President Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila, and their team. Yes. And now they came together. Victor, who is the deputy presidential candidate? Martha Karua. From which side? Oka. Presidential candidate Raila from Azimio. Who is the chief minister? Kalonzo. From which side? Oka. Yeah. And you have heard even Raila say, even Gideon Moi, he will be part of the government, and the other Oka principals. So there was no swallowing of pie here, because remember, this is politics, and you never know what was going on behind the scenes. Maybe Oka was being told, we have given you a deputy president, we can give you a chief minister. So what will a tough negotiator like Kalonzo do? He had to negotiate tough and say no. Yeah. You can't underrate my following. More than 2 million voters. Yeah? Those are votes which will make somebody become a president, because you will win by around 6-7 million votes. So with more than 2 million votes to be victor. So I think it was a political reality and political success after tough negotiation. And of course, Raila, Kalonzo and Uhuru, they meet at their own level.
Yes.
And there's a way they relate. And I agree with my brother when he says that, you can't just buy air. You must see what you are buying. So if you are promised, Victor, I'll make you this and this, and there's nothing to support that, how will you accept to buy such a thing? Yeah. So Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, in my opinion, was justified to make sure that he accepts the deal if he can see the substance on it.
Yes.
Because if you are told, I'll make you, like when Alfred Mutua joined Kenya Kwanza, he was told he will be made a minister. What then after that? What will his people get? And even actually in Ukambani, I saw most of his followers are still in Azimio. Of course, some
of them were still in Azimio even before he joined.
Yes, and of course, by the law, Mendeleo Chapchap could not leave Azimio as per the law. But many of his followers, actually all of them, are in Azimio. He's in Kenya Kwanza alone, because what was there for them? Nothing. Yes. He was only told, if you deliver this and this, I'll give you CS. So I think, Victor, if you look at the politics, which has been played between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, you can see in Azimio, of course, regardless of the fact that there are so many constituent parties, you can see most of them have been maintained. And there's something I've seen very interesting, Victor, if you allow me to go to that route.
Quickly, yes.
In the papers, where now Kenya Kwanza are saying they'll make sure that in every position, all the way from MCA, there will only be one candidate, and they begin to negotiate. They have said that. Yeah. The question is it possible? Because they are trying to manage the interest of the constituent parties after failing to give them a share of the government. But let's look at Azimio, for example. They have said in some areas we can manage to say, let's have one candidate, but in other areas we cannot, not countrywide. Because even in the executive, these people have been able to be given a share of the executive. So I think it's a matter of interest. And if you want me to fully support you, and of course Raila knew that he needed the full support of Kalonzo. And there's no way he can get the full support of Kalonzo if his people are not well taken care of.
Because of course, even at the end of the day, his people are going to be taken care of. Because Raila Odinga was going to be the president of all Kenyans. But let me get to your point here, Noordean. What should you expect now moving forward? Because Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka he looks so happy. Ever since he joined Azimio, he's more energetic. It's like he's found some sort of life. And even the pecking order during the campaign, he's also recognized, in terms of giving speeches. He's full of energy, so to speak. What should you expect now that Katisya said that the train left the station yesterday?
I believe what you should expect is a campaign, a serious and vigorous campaign. If you look, Kenya Kwanza have distributed themselves today and tomorrow. They have campaigns in some in Rift Valley, some in Machakos, I've seen, and some are going to be in Central. So what Azimio is going to do, as you heard Raila say yesterday, he has someone from Coast, he has someone from Kambani, and what have you, and from Nairobi. Everyone is going to be given a task. So as per today, campaigns now officially have started. What we've been going through was an illegality where people were running helter-skelter, One day in future we'll have to go back to such things, because it's an illegality. Now I believe, because even the deputy president said, if you thought we are campaigning, wait for campaign. So you can remember during the Jubilee campaigns, there was a time we were seeing he was doing 4 or 5 counties in a day. So that is what we expect to see. Azimio on the other side will have their own brigade. I believe they still have that Mashinani brigade or something, which was moving around. So after the manifesto today, I'm sure they will revert back to their constituent areas and mobilize their people to turn out to vote. Because at the end of the day, there's one thing in pulling a crowd, there's another thing turning that crowd into votes. Because in as much as Azimio might feel that now we are there, we are going to win this thing, if your people believe they will win and they don't wake up to vote, you are never going to win.
Yes.
So that is why this vigorous campaign is going to be there to sensitize them, tell them, come out and vote. And there is something you just said, in that this issue of having to avoid a fallout and have every single candidate in Kenya Kwanza run as a single candidate and remove any other issue that might come up and make Azimio take the ticket. The thing is, that is going to be a tall order. Because if you look at, for example, Kenya Kwanza has a couple of parties.
Yes.
Let's take Nairobi, for example. There is UDA, there is ANC, there is Ford Kenya, and the others, all those small parties that are in there. Now, if you tell me, for example, to step down for him, and you promise me a government, you know, people are skeptical. What if we don't get the government? What happens to me? That's another question. That's a challenge, you know. It's the same thing that was Raila was saying back then. He was saying vote for 6-piece ODM until he realized you might say that and end up not getting the vote. So he was being told, ask for your vote down here, as long as it is Azimio. That is why you see he was saying the other day, make sure it is Azimio going down. Because if you force people into a particular ticket and they don't feel comfortable in that ticket, there is no way that person is going to win. So moving forward, I believe how they handle that and any fallout, because there might be a fallout if you tell person X to leave for Y and they don't want to do it. And like he said,
I think what Honorable Odinga means is that the 6-piece, when you go to a particular region, it should be Azimio. Yes. Because right now it's like a consolidated ticket, all right? Consolidated ticket. Azimio, because all of them want to win.
Yeah.
You can imagine now that's under coalition, because when you talk of a 6-piece ODM, we have got Wiper and so many parties within the Azimio coalition. But then now the 6-piece should be Azimio, because at the end of the day, they need numbers. Katisya, very quickly. Perhaps, you know, they met at their own level.
Yes.
They know what they talked about. But Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka seemed to be so happy.
Yes, actually, I wanted to make a comment on when you said he seems to be happier and full of energy after joining Azimio. Victor, Kalonzo has never left Azimio since when they signed the coalition agreement. He has always been in Azimio. But remember, as much as he was in Azimio, he also had the right to also go seek the presidency.
Yes.
Because there was no clause in Azimio coalition agreement which was preventing any person, any party from fielding a presidential candidate. So he had the right to, if he chose to go the way, he could go the way, but still in Azimio. And he has always been happy. Yeah, but of course, it's a way of, you see, after now, he said he will go for the presidency, and now he said it's okay. Now I've sat down, I've reflected, I've consulted, and I've agreed to back my brother Raila Odinga again. That is not rejoining Azimio. Yeah, he has always been Azimio. But I agree with you when you say he's full of energy. Yes, he's full of energy because he believes in the decision he has made. He believes now, since I have decided to support Raila, we must win this seat this time around. Remember, he has supported Raila for this is that time for the presidency, 2013, 2017, and now 2022. Yeah, and he has the reason to wake up and recollect all the energy that he has and make sure that they win this seat.
Yes.
Yeah, for the sake of Kenyans, because you know the motivation as Mio have is to make sure that William Ruto does not become the president of this country, because of course he has his own strengths, but also he has his own weaknesses. The same case applies to this other side.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and now for you to be a prime minister, if I may call it that way, your team must win. So, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka must work very hard, to ensure that his team wins and for him to become the prime minister. So I think, Victor, and I agree with the Wakili here, you know, if the Kenya Kwanza team is making a serious mistake by trying to say, let's just have one candidate for every position. What will happen to the other candidates? Because remember, some of these decisions are not decisions which are made by, they're not consensus.
Yes.
Sometimes you are told, step down. I'll give you this. You remember what happened to MC Jesse, the one for Imenti? He was forced to step down. He went independent. There is a good way of, if you tell all the parties, because all the parties which have signed the agreement are constituent parties of that particular coalition, if they all produce their candidates, and when everybody is campaigning, they are campaigning for the presidential candidate.
Yes.
There are higher chances of the presidential candidate winning. Because if we have 3 candidates for MP,
yes,
in Langata, for example, none of them have their own followers. And they are saying, vote for me, but vote for Raila.
That will enter a slip of votes.
Exactly.
Complete,
now,
actually.
compared to when you have one candidate saying, just vote for me and Ruto. Yeah. So he's being campaigned for by one MP candidate there. Whereas the other team has 3 or more candidates campaigning for them. So that's why even Raila had to change that tactic. And he said, so long as it is Azimio from down up there, let it be Azimio. You've seen in Ukambani, for example, Victor, when they were fighting, saying, Wiper wants to make sure that all the candidates are, all the Azimio candidates are Wiper, and they were blowing all manner of noises. Yeah, and you have never heard Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka demand in Azimio that there should be no other party should produce candidates there, because he believes that his party, of course, will be able to sweep all the seats in Ukambani and other regions which are Wiper strongholds. So, Victor, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka has all the reasons
to join Azimio.
Not to join, to still remain there and back up Raila, because he has always been Azimio, and have the energy to campaign for Raila. Because now these people are friends. If you look at their body language, Victor, Raila and Kalonzo are friends.
Absolutely. All right.
They are friends. Yes.
I have to leave that at that. That particular point, because now what you should expect, I think, is now a done deal. We should expect back and forth. Probably whatever they talked about, or whatever the reason that made them to come together, is now a sealed deal. And moving forward, because it's now a joint campaign. All of them. It's now a joint campaign.
Yes.
All right. So at the end of the day, it's Wananchi who will make a decision come 9th of August. But gentlemen, now let's move to yesterday. Raila Odinga was cleared. The 5th candidate to be cleared on all manner of scenarios that Kenyans, as we know it, the 5th candidate to run for the 5th time was cleared at 11 a.m. The 5th stab, and the 5th candidate to be cleared
on 5th of June.
5th of June.
5th of June. Kenyans are just creative in their own ways. Somebody sat down and came up with that narrative and that script. But okay, that is just that. But then the 10-point agenda that he raised, the concerns that he raised with the IBC, some of these things were raised during the 2017 election. And if you heard what Chief Justice Martha Koome said last week, that she hopes that some of these cases are expedited and cleared before we go to the next poll. And I believe even Chebukati himself, as senior counsel, is so much aware that we are going as a country, we're going for an election, and yet we have got some cloud of court cases still hanging over us between the IBC and political parties. Let me start with you, Noordean. The 10 points that Honorable Raila raised. Let me start with you. Your point. One of them was the transmission of results, the verification of voter register, and I'll get to the third one. But based on that, what is your take?
You see, this, for example, those two are part of what made his case in 2017.
Yes.
And
credibility test.
Exactly. IBC was meant to also open the servers, which we are not sure if they ever did. All right? Now they say the servers are not in France, so we won't be told people are still sleeping. They say they have them here. Well, now, the voter registry, for example, is meant to be cleaned and meant to be published. That is yet to happen. All right? They say they are going to do it, and they are time barred. Now, you remember in nullification of the elections in 2017, Maraga said that an election is a process, not an event. So if the process to the event is flawed, it makes the event an error, So at the end of the day, IBC is time-barred to try and make sure that people see a free and fair election. That is what Raila was saying. They have to deliver a free, fair and credible election. Because if not, then it brings back the issue of integrity. All right? So moving forward, how they, because not just Raila, even the deputy president raised some concerns. All right? The other day. You know, as a politician, you raise what you feel does not favor you, for example, or what you see might impede your victory. So how they maneuver around that to make sure that, because there's no single candidate that is ever content. You always feel like you're walking on eggshells, you know, so that you can never be 100%. But to make sure the process is as transparent as possible. Because there are things that were raised by Raila, for example, about the procurement process that was done.
Yes.
You see, so if they can come out clearly and clear the air on the issues raised by both camps and any other candidate that has been cleared for presidency, right? If they can come out clear, because they still have time, if they can do that before the elections, that will be a massive boost on the integrity, a massive boost on the results that they finally release. Because if not, anyone can go to court and say that, you know what, we went into these things, people are not well prepared, they were not ready. Because, and you realize there are times IBC has been saying, even this year, there's a time they said they're not ready. Then they came and said, now we're ready. You realize, so what was the gap between when you are not ready and when you're ready?
What happened in between?
What happened in between? What was the missing link that now is there? So those questions have to be raised, and it is good that they're being raised right now, as when they were getting cleared by both candidates. So IBC should fast track between now and July, because if you get to August and you're still clarifying...
Time is bad, because you look at the date, actually for politicians and the timelines that given by IBC, with all these 10 points that were raised, do they really have time to...
They don't have to. You see, this is a question I keep asking myself. So in 5 years, what have you been doing? All right? What is, do they really have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan? Because now we should be, they should be planning on how we move from this manual issue, because procurement is also part of corruption. This manual issue and move to electronic. How? Do you have a system or a plan of how we are going to get to that point?
Yes.
Because if, for example, ODM could carry out the nominations electronically, why can't IBC plan on moving from this manual issue of always procuring ballot boxes and papers and turn it into electronic? You realize? So they need to be, that is why we're given a 5-year period to plan yourself. So if they are not ready, then we're in for a rude shock. But I believe they should clear the air on every single point that has been raised to date, so that these candidates can stop using those things in the campaign platform. Because when they go for a rally and they say this thing has been rigged, and you haven't clarified, they say this thing has been planned, you realize? So it puts the integrity of IBC into question, and that makes it a flawed process moving forward.
It makes it a flawed process because, Kevin, he's raised a very good concern, because, you know, as per the law, registration and voter registration and sensitization is a continuous process. It doesn't stop. That's why Chebukati and his team were still intact in office. And even at some point where they didn't have enough quorum, they had to fill that gap very quickly for continuity. But then the issue was revolved around integrity of the voter register, that is one. Two, identification of voters, and two, transmission of results during elections. These are some of the three areas compressed from what Raila Odinga said yesterday, the 10-point issues that he wanted. But then, these 10 points, it's now putting IBC at crossroads, because we're just slightly over 60 days to the polls. But then, these 10 points raised by Deputy President as well, who is a serious contender in the election, and again, Honorable Raila Odinga again. Where does this leave IBC?
Yes, I think, Victor, both William Ruto and Raila Odinga have a good reason.
They can never be wrong.
For raising these concerns. Yes. And they are justified. Remember, they are players in this election, and the IBC is the referee. Yeah, and there must be fair rules. And all these rules must be known to the players.
Yes.
The issues which they are raising on the issues of voter registration. When you see William Ruto saying that 1 million voters have been removed from the register, from his stronghold, and he also saw Raila yesterday saying more than 1 million voters also have been added to the register from some regions without clarity on how they were added. You know, this is a serious issue. Yeah, and you know, IBC, when they were responding, they said, please wait until we audit the voter register and we gazette the same.
Which is done by KPMG.
Which is done by KPMG. After it has been gazetted, I think that is the right time for people to raise complaints. For now, they are raising concerns. And IBC should seriously consider those concerns, yeah, before they even go ahead and gazette the register. Victor, the issue of transmission of results, we all know that was the main issue in the presidential petition in 2017.
Some of them lacked even a backup.
Yes. No, Victor, if you look at Article 91C of the Elections Act, where the IBC is allowed to transmit election results electronically, yeah, it is supposed to make sure that that process is a process which is guarded and secure, whereby there can't be any loopholes where the results can be tampered with. Because Raila was very clear in his concerns. Yes, he said, how can you ensure that the results as they are being electronically transmitted, they are not tampered with? And the IBC chair was not able to answer that question at that point. Yeah, because if 1,000 people vote here, Victor, and the results which reaches the tallying center are tampered with,
yes,
then how do we ensure that that is okay? The other issue of the voter register, IBC was saying we are going to use digital register and disregard the physical register. Then Raila was asking, but what happens if this digital register
there's a breakdown?
There's a breakdown.
Is there backup?
Is there a backup? That's a genuine concern, Victor. That's why IBC should also consider these concerns. The other issue of network connectivity, and IBC was saying in a polling station or polling center, if maybe there is network challenge or power, the PO has the power to transport those materials to another polling center which has the power and the network. What happens along the way? Yeah, and the other thing they were saying about the PO being given the power, if there are some materials inserted, and they are to open and they know, remember the box is sealed, Victor. To open the box, remove those materials and close it again. Don't you see that can bring an issue of voter election incredibility? Whereby some materials can be inserted by the POs.
Because when you look at that, for example, an election, opening of those boxes should be done after an election and cleared that the polling station is done, and now we want to do the official counting. That's where you have to know the spoiled vote. Person X got this and person Y got that. All right? So some of these concerns, you can imagine a PO somewhere in West Pokot, or my home county of Homa Bay says that, you know what, how would I know that there are stray ballot boxes, papers in that box? What criteria did you use? You know, the integrity test that now IBC is put under. Perhaps Chebukati did not see this coming, Noordean. He didn't see these 10 points floated on his face on that particular day. Did he?
He didn't. Obviously, he didn't. But he expected something from Raila. You see, the sad reality is that away even from the 10 points from Raila, the clearing process of presidential candidates is also a question. Because people are asking, what is so wrong with Mwangire? What has he done? You realize? And he says, you cannot see me, you don't want to see me, and you're my RO. You realize? By being the head of IBC. So you realize this process is being looked at by people. So if the process is going to be flawed, like I told you, it's going to affect the results that you're going to announce. So for example, what Raila in essence has told him, precaution on what you're doing. Look at what, for example, like he talked about even the appointment of ROs. You know, IBC moved to appoint ROs without participation of the political parties, without sharing the details with them. So Raila is against that as well. The issue about transmission of data, of technology. My friend here just raised an issue about electricity and network. What has IBC been doing the past 5 years? Because if you haven't solved that, then it's like we're moving into a battle zone. People have guns and we have knives. Are you prepared? You get. So at the end of the day, what was raised yesterday, he doesn't have time. Because in as much as what some might say, the deputy president said that his votes were reduced, and say that maybe he's lying. It is upon you to prove that he's not lying.
He talked about 800,000.
Exactly. So even if we say So how do you know? It is upon you to prove that what he's saying is a lie. Because if you don't, he will run with that thing if he doesn't win. He will say, I spoke about this thing before the elections. And you see the gap between me and him is 1 million. These are my 1 million votes that are missing, for example, you know. So, and you know, politics is an art of laying seeds of doubt. So that it is easy for you to pick and whip your mass with emotion and run with it. So he has no time between now and August. He needs to clarify all these issues from both camps, and even those that is clearing, who are saying that, oh, there's a ploy to make sure there are only a certain number of presidential candidates. So you have to prove that this person, for example, doesn't have signatures, or this person hasn't gone to school or is lying. Because if you don't do that, then all these accusations and propaganda as per politics will lie on your face, and you'll have nowhere to run. You will be in court, and whatever you'll have produced as a result will be nullified.
This puts IBC on a straight jacket, between a rock and a hard place, because now Honorable Deputy President says that 800,000 votes.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Raila Odinga, on the other hand, says that, you know, different counties,
Yes.
1 million votes somewhere, you know, unexplained, according to him, unexplained. 1 million. So when you see Deputy President says that it's 800, Honorable Raila Odinga now moving the number higher to 1 million. Chebukati must be having a lot of work to do between now and 9th of August.
And you remember there's a time he also said, days before the Deputy President spoke, he said there's someone who manipulated and some votes were added without specific details. So he himself also raised the issue. So if he doesn't solve that issue and you have the election like that, then the egg will be on his face. Because he doesn't have time, I can tell you for free, between now and August 9th. And we should not even be counting July, because you know when you get to July, that process is as good as done.
Right.
He only has a few days in between June now to clarify whatever needs to be done. Because once that cleaning of the data registration is done, it is all systems go. Because if my friend here is saying after that, then you can come in and question. My friend, it will be too late. I can tell you for free. Because now, if for example somebody has added votes and they get cleared, how do you move away from that? So that is the problem that he's facing. And I believe, if you ask me, really, I don't think they're well prepared. But I hope they prove me wrong.
All right.
I think, Victor, before we get out of that topic, the question we should be asking ourselves, and I think Noordean has mentioned it, is a question of whether is IBC prepared to conduct these coming elections.
That's
a question. According to me, yeah, and I would like the chair of IBC to prove me wrong, he's not prepared. Remember, initially he was talking of issues of budget. We haven't seen him saying, now I have been given enough budget, I can conduct these elections.
Yes.
Issues which are being raised by these presidential candidates, they are valid issues. The issue of now the voter register is a very key thing. Yeah, I've seen them saying the ballot papers will be ready in 2 weeks.
Yes,
they are so concerned about now the voting. They're not concerned about now who are eligible to vote. The voter register. How will the election be conducted? How will the POs be recruited? Even up to now, they have not even started recruiting the POs and ROs and training them. And they are saying they are prepared. I think as the presidential candidates are doing their campaigns, IBC should sit down, put their house in order, and prepare for these elections. If we are to avoid chaos and violence after the election, actually IBC is a key factor on what will happen after the election.
Yes.
If you are satisfied that the elections were free, fair, and credible, believe you me, you will not participate in this chaos. But as Noordean has said, that seed of chaos is being planted slowly into people's minds. If somebody is told that, and of course, Victor, you must appreciate the fact that William Ruto is playing the card of being an outsider in government, and he is saying Raila is the insider. So what he's trying to say is that the government, Raila's team, will influence the IBC. Even in his complaints to IBC, he was saying something happened. You know, he's saying the system, this man of deep state. Yeah. So there is something he's planting to his people, that if we lose, we have not lost because we did not win. We have lost because
IBC.
Exactly. So I think IBC must come out and respond to all these issues and address them. There's no way you can tell me that you want to ensure that you will fully use the digital register,
yes,
and tell me that all the transmission will be electronic. And we all know the challenges in this country. We all know there are some polling stations where there is no electricity. We all know that.
Yeah.
So I think IBC also must be practical, yeah, in ensuring that we have a credible election, Victor. Because by the end of the day, whether Raila or Ruto wins, they'll be the president of this country, and they will lead us. Yeah. And believe you me, apart from the people close to them,
yes,
the other Kenyans will not receive anything special. They'll just receive a normal service from a president. So I think IBC must ensure, whether it is Raila or Ruto, they must ensure that the process is very credible. Let them strictly adhere to the Elections Act and the Constitution, Victor. Because no, these candidates have their rights, and their rights must be safeguarded. So, Victor, and yes, I'm repeating this for even a fifth time, and I said it before when I've been coming here. IBC, actually the ball is on IBC. Number one, also, let them do proper civic education. I haven't seen that being done, Victor. I haven't seen. Yeah, and I'm happy that the presidential candidates have now reduced.
Yes,
are they 5 now so far?
We had
yes,
a commissioner here who said that civic education is not part of IBC. There's just the voter sensitization is part of the politicians.
No. I agree with him partly, but IBC has a duty, yeah, to also sensitize the voters. Yeah, they have a duty. You remember, they are the ones who are conducting the election. They have a duty. Let the voters know this is how you are going. Because, Victor, even this issue of, there's another candidate called spoiled vote. Yeah. And that candidate is normally very popular and very strong. Yeah. So if you are not going to sensitize and educate the voters, this candidate, yes, this candidate will get so many votes. So ABC has a duty, Victor.
Which means we'll bring you here, Noordean, because when you look at some of the points which were raised by Maraga and team way back in 2017, it's like Raila just went back and picked that script, brought on the table of Chebukati and said that, you know what, 5 years down the line, hey, this is not happening. We've not gotten any result from what happened. The nullification of that election was because of the process. The process. So at this particular point, it's still the same process that is now putting Chebukati and the team at crossroads once again. Because number one, let me say this. For example, one of the issues Raila said was an amendment the ODM boss insisted that will determine the credibility of the polls, whereby Raila also challenged IBC sponsored amendment to the electronics regulations to give itself exclusive mandate to appoint election officials, including POs and ROs and their deputies at the constituencies and counties. Yeah. Now, when you have got big players, political parties and contestants, this is something that will be contested, and perhaps Chebukati now will have to move in very fast and change the whole amendment and make sure that everybody, the political players, are confident in the team.
You see, the election general regulations stipulate that they need to share details with the political parties. Yes. So when you move to change that, what is the motive behind it? You get that also is sinister. Someone will look at you, what are you up to? Because why do you have to have this exclusive? The eye in independence doesn't mean you work to the exclusion of everyone. Yes. All right. You need to work as a team player. For example, if the law is saying you share details with political parties, what is harm in doing so? Because someone will say, you know what, this IBC actually, you remember the deputy president the other day with the EU ambassadors? Yes. He said that IBC is not independent. Now IBC is being, there's a puppeteer somewhere who's working behind closed doors. Now what if the former prime minister goes and says, the reason why you move this amendment is because you're supporting the other side. So you want to have ROs that are friendly to them and POs friendly to them without our inclusion. How will you defend yourself when you're before court? So these small issues that they get themselves into are what are going to cost them this election. That is why we are saying this. You see, in Raila taking these 10 points is because when they were raised in court, to date, IBC has never addressed any of them. They have never come out and said, you know, the server is open, for example, this and this this is what we have in there. The transmission we've done, this was a problem, now we have done this.
And perhaps if I can just quote one of the commissioners, Commissioner Nyangaya.
Yeah.
He said that the servers were opened.
Yeah, he said
he said that the servers were opened before 5 p.m. As was ordered by court. I cannot get the exact date, but according to them, the servers were opened, and it's quite a technical bit because it means numbers, data, some, you know, some funny figures that nobody could understand. But according to them, the server was opened. But you see now, the common Mwananchi would want to know, the server was opened. Is it like a ballot box,
you know,
which was opened, right?
You know, like for example, as a question I'd pose to them, right now we have fights in Kerio Valley and parts of Rift Valley. Have they addressed how ballot boxes will get there? Security and logistics. Raila raised that yesterday about security and logistics. That is one of the issues. Have they addressed that? For example, you see, at the end of the day, their planning is what I'm saying is not ready.
Yes.
Because, like he rightfully said, this same year they talked about a budget that they don't have a certain amount, or rather they are underfunded. They have never come back and said that, oh, we received what we wanted. All right, and once we received this, we paid this and this on this. All right, that is why they are being asked. This person that you, this entity that you picked to do the printing of ballot boxes, who is this person? Was the procurement process followed? All right, those are the questions that are being asked.
Yeah.
Because if that is a question again, then it brings back the issue of integrity. You see, so they have very short time to prove that this election will be free and fair. Because like I told you, all camps will play the propaganda role. Because right now, he said, you see that we have a unique setup where we have a deputy president who's also a quasi-opposition leader. So right now, he's playing the role Raila used to play. This election is rigged. This election, oh, come and save us. You realize? At the end of the day, you have to show that they align and that this is a true position. Because if you don't, I'll tell you for free, they will run with the narrative today, tomorrow, and past 9th of August. And you see, we have a problem in our country in that we have this euphoria thing. People follow blindly. It's the same thing as when we were passing the constitution, people said, Kama Raila amesoma, mimi nimesoma.
That's enough.
We have those suicidal supporters where if person X says this is it, you take it as a gospel truth. So they say this thing has been rigged, we won, and they lied. And that is...
And now that's exactly what you said, but that Chebukati has an uphill task to prove that everything is fine, to assure the country, because at the end of the day, the buck stops with him. Because look at it this way, Raila says that 1 million. Deputy President says 800,000. Those are huge numbers in an election. We are not talking about 20,000, 25,000, or even 10,000 votes, but in their hundreds of thousands and a million clock. So when you talk of that, the transfer of results, that's something that Raila talked about, and it's a concern. When you don't have a backup, when there is a 4G network coverage, that's what they're talking about, because they say that a returning officer, a constituency returning officer or a presiding officer would be given that mandate to move from location X to location Y, or a polling station where there is a network coverage to transmit that result. But then now, when in a situation where you're not able to transmit the result, you must have a backup. Are you going to transmit these physical papers to Bomas of Kenya, or what would be the solution? Those are some of the questions that I want us to answer after we come back from this particular break. All right, we're still having that discussion, 10-point discussion that Honorable Raila Odinga raised yesterday. I'm still in studio with Kevin Katisya and Khagai, still dissecting these matters one by one. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back. Iron Politics still continues. Then, all right. So, Kevin, let me just get your point on this one. The issue of the situation in case of technology failure that Honorable Raila talked about, and I think we also discussed this some times back, because they said they were going to have a backup plan, hard copies, as well as the digital system. But then now, a situation where there is a system failure, IBC should have a backup, a quick backup, so that there is that credibility test that is completely taken care of. But then, some would say that the issues raised by Honorable Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto was a deliberate move to push IEBC in terms of their preparation to make sure that everything is cleaned and put in order as we head to the election. Perhaps some would argue that it was just a ploy to push IEBC to do their best in terms of preparation.
I think, Victor, I agree with that person who says that this is a deliberate move, because remember, both Raila and Ruto have no evidence. Even Raila yesterday said he has no evidence to confirm that 1 million voters
so as they
have been
still
added.
Allegation.
Yes. Even Ruto said he has no evidence, but he will get the evidence. He will look for it. So I think it's a deliberate move of them to push IEBC to ensure that everything is proper. Victor, when it comes to conducting an election, yes, we agree, IEBC has the mandate. But now these other titles they are giving themselves, exclusive mandate, I fully disagree. The use of the word exclusive is where they are getting it wrong. IEBC cannot say we have exclusive mandate to appoint election officials, to conduct everything. They have to transfer. Now they are giving the PO the power to even open a ballot box. No, they are wrong. They have no exclusive mandate, but they have the mandate to do that. What they should do, they should work hand in hand with the candidates or their representatives. That's why the candidates have their agents. If the agents agree, okay, gentlemen and ladies, there's no power here, or there's no network connectivity, we have to move to this other polling station. How do we do that? They can consult and say, okay, let each agent of each candidate get into the vehicle which is carrying the ballot boxes together with the election officials, and they go there, they open there, and they work together. So that is the right way to go about this issue. But when they say we have the exclusive mandate, I think they're being dictatorial here. And anybody who loses, even if, Victor, you lose, but the process was not fair, you'll say I won. Yeah. So I think even with the issue of transmission, I think it is important for IEBC to also, you saw the spat between Chebukati and Chiloba on the issue of network connectivity. And Chiloba was saying, it is upon IEBC to ensure that they have the network. Us, what we do is to ensure that the providers are regulated. We can't force Safaricom to provide network or to ensure that there's network connectivity in certain area. It is for the IEBC to do that. Yeah. So I think IEBC must confirm to all these candidates that everything is in place. Yeah. And my advice to them would be, let them have a plan B. If they are planning to do digital voter register, let's have the plan B of having the physical register. If they are planning to do the electronic transmission, in case there are challenges, yeah. And even some of those officials are not even good in technology. Yeah, they have to be trained, for example. Or maybe something can be, they are hackers also. Let's not forget they are hackers. You are transmitting a result, along the way it is hacked and changed and manipulated. Yeah. So I think, Victor, as much as
assurance that Honorable Odinga wanted for the credibility of that election, and the transmission of results.
Yes, Victor. As much as we want to embrace technology, and my learned friend here can agree with me that the technology has really helped the judiciary because you can do 6 cases in a day at your office. Yeah, as much as we want to embrace it, sometimes there are challenges. And IEBC must be alive to that fact. And you see, when Ruto says that 800,000 voters have been removed, and he loses by that number, Victor, he will say, you see, I told you. And Raila, if he says, I've won, and they are, he say, a million. You see, so I think it is a matter of IEBC proving to Kenyans. What IEBC should do, and I think they'll do that. Ordinarily, after candidates have been cleared, they normally have meetings. The way they had the other meeting at Pomas, and they have to discuss on how the game will be.
And they have to make the audited register public.
Yes. And because, this issue of server, Victor, and I agree with my friend here, we don't know all about this server issue. No, they have said, no, the server has always been in Kenya. It has never been in France.
In France.
Was it open? We don't know. It is the property of IBC.
Yes.
So many stories. Yeah. And they were ordered by the court to... Victor, I personally, I participated in the presidential petition in 2017 yeah, on the NASA side. And those servers were never opened. Let nobody lie to you. Those figures which you saw senior counsel Otienda Molo elaborating in the Supreme Court, yeah, I'm sure everybody saw the way you used the mathematics, yeah, and people are confused what is happening. Those servers, Victor, were never opened. So
perhaps I would argue that it was a complicated kind of a system.
That's what they were saying.
For a layman to read.
But before we get to that level, why can't we ensure that even a normal Kenyan can see this thing has been fair? Even a normal Kenyans, yeah? Why can't the process be conducted? You see, this rule of ensuring that the results are tallied at the polling station, there are those forms which are filled, and then now that they're transmitted to where the arrow is, from the constituency tallying center now to the main tallying center. So let it be so transparent. Actually, Victor, here the issue is transparency.
Transparency.
Yeah, and how they are conducting the election. Let all the players be involved. If it is presidential, Victor, no, we are talking presidential. We are forgetting their gubernatorial.
Yes,
and they also the MPs.
From the member of county assembly until the top.
Yes, even members. Exactly.
Yes, let me get your voice here, Noordean. You know, when we talk about the integrity of an election, you know, the issues raised. This reminds me way back with Kivitule team, the IEC back then. The same questions that Raila Odinga raised yesterday. When we talk about the transmission of results, way back then, the technology was not, you know, at play. It was the physical paper. The returning officer would declare, and then, you know, ferried to Bomas of Kenya or KICC. Actually, it was at KICC where Kivitule team was based. And that's where an election was announced. And remember, Honorable Kifito, the late, said that something is happening or they are cooking figures somewhere. You know, when you flash back and you hear now Raila Odinga speaking this one years later, perhaps it puts the process of an election in Kenya to be that difficult, and the doubt that is around it can never go away anytime soon, even after this election.
You know, he's a person who has suffered courtesy of those acts, you know. So
that's how to put it that way, right?
So he also has to cover his bases,
right, and
make sure that this time around, you know, for him this is crunch time. So he has to make sure that this thing is watertight, or rather is telling IBC, are you sure what you have done is watertight? If not, go back to the drawing board, because now we've raised certain issues. You know, he just talked about hacking, which is a reality.
Exactly.
We know we live in an era where people hack, you know. So how hard would it be? You just need to invest in technology. And these politicians have money, you know, and both camps have money. To invest in software and technology of hacking, you just need a good person to do that work. So at the end of the day, they need to make sure that their transmission is watertight, all right? Or rather they can protect it. And they also need a backup, because if you don't have a backup, now this thing will also fall on their face, you see. So at the end of the day, IBC, I'm pretty sure, like what the way you put it makes some sense, because IBC, rather the silent language be told to them, go back and check your systems. If you think they are okay, just go back and confirm. If they are not, do something extra. Or maybe someone might have gotten information on what you intend to do.
Yes.
So go and change tact. Because if you remain the way you are, someone will infiltrate your system.
Are you trying to say that politicians are way ahead of the IBC?
Or they might not be. You see, it's more or less like, you know, these things that tell you, open this site and what have you.
Right.
Sometimes everything is okay. Until you go and open, that is when you give them access to what they want. So in short, what I'm saying is, if they believe that whatever they have is in order, let them maintain it. But if they believe there's something they need to add, let them do it. Because this election has to be won fairly. So that anyone who loses, no, let's not just look at the presidential, going down as well. Anybody who loses doesn't have the gall to go out there and force people into violence. Because at the end of the day, someone needs to see that I have lost this thing fair and square. You concede and you move on. All right? Because we have to have a country on the 10th of August. Life has to go back to normal. This issue of voting and extending this issue for 3, 2, 4, 5 or 1 year does not help anyone. As it is, the economy people are suffering. So the more you extend this thing, the more the suffering continues. So politicians need to understand there has to be a life post 9th of August. Because these things, it should never be a matter of do or die. If you're trying to help Kenyans and solve their issues, if the IBC announces a result that are free and fair and you realize that you have lost, my friend, just walk away and let people move on. You have your time to plan and come back. But IBC, like we said, IBC needs to put its act together, because in those 10 concerns, 1 or 2 might be valid.
And somebody can take you to court.
And someone will take you to court because they will say, we raised these concerns before the election. You did nothing and we're here because of that. So you need to cover your bases as well, because if they don't, then they'll find themselves in court. And this will automatically nullify an election, which is expensive as it is.
But are we ready to get to that point of an election being nullified? It was the first one of a kind in Africa in 2017.
Now you see, if they do not work as per the law, it will be nullified. That, and I'm not lying. You can ask him. If they do not work as per the law, if the process is flawed, there's no election there. We'll have wasted money that would have been pumped elsewhere as a country. So they need to make sure that the taxpayers' money is not wasted. Because we also have to come to a point where, you see, I remember back when the commission was being filled, the vacancies. You see, we're talking about the integrity of the election. It starts with the person in office or the people in office. If they don't have integrity, these malpractices will occur. But if the threshold for integrity in IBC is high, which we need to raise, by the way, this issue of malpractice, issue of suspicion will go away. So we need to look at as Kenyans, a way of how we make sure that whoever goes to become a commissioner in this commission, the integrity threshold has to be high. So we avoid issue of any malpractice.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That's a good point. Katisya, you know, as he's putting it, then it means that Chebukati must be scratching his head wherever he is, because with all these 10 points, just miss one, it's part of the preparation of an election and conducting an election. Someone will head to court. We have got activists ready with papers as we speak.
Yes. And Victor, you know, in 2017 when the elections were nullified, if IBC was any other defendant, Noordean can bear me witness, they would have bared the cost of everything. Remember the way my brother said, these elections cost a lot of money. The repeat election in 2017, October, it costed billion. A lot of money. This is taxpayers' money, Victor. So IBC must be responsible enough. They must tell us what have they been doing since 2017 to date. And Raila has raised serious good concerns. He's asking them these issues which were raised actually by the court in 2017. What have you done about them? William Ruto is saying this because, you know, they introduced this aspect, and it is a legal right of every Kenyan to be transferred to where they want. But the process must be followed. And I saw so many people applying for transfer, whereby there's a form, and actually it was very strict. You have to go to the constituency returning officer. Those are the ones who are now approving the transfer. So the forms were filled. But if somebody was just transferred Kenyeji and the law was not strictly followed, what happens? So I think, Victor, in a nutshell of what we are saying, and now you see even the presidential candidates and other candidates have shifted from campaigning on their policies. Now they are talking about IBC. And that's why this issue of outsider and insider is coming out. Because Kenyans are saying, Ruto is saying, Raila is an insider in government, where I was kicked out, I'm an outsider. So IBC, what they're saying, the government will influence IBC to just regain this insider. That's what the Kenya Kwanza team is saying. So Chebukati has an uphill task, Victor, as you have said. He must prove to Kenyans, not to Raila and Ruto or other candidates, to Kenyans. He's actually doing that role for the Kenyans. He must prove to them that we are fully prepared. Even before he talks of printing ballot papers.
Which even starts next week.
They've said 2 weeks. So are they even prepared with the register?
But according to them, they're working as per the timeline, you know.
No.
Some other things.
That's true. The timelines are okay. But also, Victor, IBC must also be fair in how they make their decisions and how they operate. Yeah. Look, for example, sorry to divert a little bit, the issue of the Governor Sonko, for example. All along they knew Sonko had been impeached. And they knew his name was submitted by Wiper. All along they knew that.
Yeah.
All along they knew that. Yeah. Then now, was it on Saturday?
Yes.
They are saying,
and
you see,
I'm coming to
you're coming
that.
to that issue.
I'm coming to that.
Thank you.
As
yes,
part
yes.
of the integrity and you know,
yes.
you know, the chapter 6 of the Constitution. I'm coming to that. But let me just get your closing remarks here, Noordean. CJ Martha Koome said last week that IEBC must, you know, own up to its past mistakes.
Yes.
That, according to her, must own up to its past mistakes to ensure that there is a free, fair, and credible election, which is viable. Elections come 9th of August. But when you hear Chief Justice speak, perhaps she's sending a message that, you know, perhaps we are not ready to have a bench constituted again after 9th of August to do an election. I mean, to have an election case filed before us. It was tedious. You know, we all watched how it would start from this time of the day until late into the night, and tons of papers. You know, some were being brought in lorries at night. But then now, how can we, and even from this other end, Chebukati, to assure Kenyans that, you know what, with slightly over 6 days to go, we are ready, and the results that you're going to give Kenyans will be credible and verifiable?
There's a Latin term that says, veritas nunquam perit. That means the truth never perishes. Meaning IBC, like she rightfully said, IBC in the past has failed in certain issues.
Yes.
That is number one. So how they maneuver around that is very important. You see, the matter of whether a presidential petition will be filed or not, I'll tell you for free, he's an advocate as well, he'll tell you, there will be a petition. With these politicians that we have, a petition is likely going to be there because they will never accept defeat. You can even see the nomination exercise, how it went, all right? Yes. So at the end of the day, what IBC has right here is a tall order. Like he said, if it was any other issue, they will be paying costs. And I think that should be a threshold, because at the end of the day, they need to make sure this exercise is, it can't be 100% for sure. Of course, but there should be the margin
of credibility.
The margin should be so high that anyone trying to issue a contest agrees that this thing, I couldn't have won this thing. It's like the 202. Nobody says 202 was clean. It wasn't clean, 100%. But the margins that were there clearly showed that the president currently had lost. You realize? And that is what IBC needs to focus on. Because when people go to court, they go to court not just on the process, even on the margin that is there. You realize? So at the end of the day, they need to make sure that everything is in order. And for me, what I will tell them is quite clear. Everything that was raised in 2017 that you have not done, go back there. Make sure that you seal any loophole, because clearly these political players have seen certain loopholes and they have already started planning on how they will execute their game plan towards those loopholes. So being you, don't take whatever was raised by either the deputy or the former prime minister as an attack. Take it as time to go reflect and plan better, because if not, you will be back in court after wasting taxpayers' money and then take people back to an election. Noting that, for example, we have children who still have school to go to, lives have to continue, right? So you will disrupt an entire system because of something that, like he said, they work for Kenyans, not for those politicians. So they need to make sure that they give us an election that is free, fair, not just for the politicians, but for us. Because when you wake up to vote, that is your right to executing your right.
Absolutely.
So that right must count, so that you are a candidate and you either lose fairly, or if it is unfair, you seek legal redress. Now, you see, on the let me just say something about the integrity issue said. You see, we also need to raise the leadership and integrity threshold in Kenya. Because you see, there are instances where person X is cleared, person Y is not cleared. Now, they said all impeached governors can't be cleared. That is fine. But now, what about, for example, these people who have ongoing cases? Yes, the law says clearly that they have to have finished every single avenue.
That's actually what we're coming to finish with. The case of Governor Sonko. All right, as we clear that one of IEBC, all right, we put it aside, because now we wait and see, because Chebukati said that he'll make public all the findings and the report and invite all the presidential players, and he requested all of them to appear in person so that they can clear all the questions raised. And by the way, the register the list will be out, it will be compiled, a gazette notice will be done on 9th of this month, and thereafter that will give them now time to start the printing of ballot papers in the next 2 weeks. So as we finalize this, Governor Sonko, the issue of impeachment, it's an issue that somebody would argue that, you know, when somebody is impeached, it's an ongoing case, he filed a petition in court, he should be allowed to continue with the political process, what have you. But then Chebukati said Governor Sonko cannot run for a political seat in Mombasa. Chapter 6 taking effect. But somebody would still argue that President Uhuru Kenyatta had a court case way back then with Deputy President William Ruto, but they were still elected either way. Where are we? Very quickly.
You know, Victor, the word, yeah, being used by IBC is impeachment. Yeah.
Yes.
They are said, because, you know, under the law, Victor, there's no way you can apply section 75 of the Constitution excluding 99(3). Yeah, because if you have the issues of integrity, and if you have been you have been found unfit, yeah, to hold a public office, yeah, then you can't contest under section 75 of the Constitution. Now, looking at article 99(3), if you have an ongoing matter,
yes,
in court, and you have not exhausted, then no, it is at the point of exhausting the legal remedies available to you, that is when now section 75 1 can apply. But you see now, here is the IBC saying, you know, anybody who has been impeached, they were just trying to hide behind that word, has been impeached. So anybody, is there anywhere in the Constitution, Noordean, where the Constitution says any person who has been impeached from an office, they should not contest? Is there anywhere? Actually, the word impeachment has not been used anywhere with regards to qualifications to run for any office. It has not. Yeah, it doesn't. It only applies now, for example, when now a leader is being removed from office. Yeah. So if you are removed from office and you have been impeached under section 75, you can't contest. That is true. But remember, Victor, this is a political process. Yeah, and every political process, every Kenyan, no, Article 38 is supreme. The right to the political rights of a Kenyan, yes, to vote or be voted for, it is supreme. And if Sonko can prove that, and he proved that he has an ongoing appeal at the Supreme Court of his after he was impeached, he went to High Court. High Court affirmed the decision by the Senate. He went to Court of Appeal. Then now he's at Supreme Court. Then you heard now IBC saying no, since he was impeached, we can't clear him.
Let me just,
and today as we speak, Victor, as I conclude on that matter, today as we speak, there's an ongoing case of Governor Sonko, yeah, of a 3-judge bench, right, in Milimani, where we have Justin Majanja and other 2 judges. Yeah. So was IBC preempting what the judges will say? Well, in my opinion, Victor, they are not being fair here. You know, because you see, that is when people will start saying, you know, IBC aired all the time. Since when Sonko's name was submitted to them, I think it should be sometime in April, yes, by Wiper Party. They had all the time to quickly see, okay, he is not qualified under this, because he was not impeached yesterday. He was impeached way back. So now the timing, when the deadline for clearing candidates is it 7th or is it 9th? I think 7th, tomorrow. Yes. That is a deadline. Yes. The timing of it is suspicious, because by the time you go to court and get orders, the timing, Victor, is suspicious. So but Victor, without cutting you short, if the deadline ends and the court finds that Sonko can contest, his name will still be in the, whether the deadline has lapsed or not, because the Constitution is superior to the Elections Act. As much as the Elections Act says, you know, all candidates must be cleared, yeah, is it 60 days or 45 days to the election, yeah, the Constitution is superior. If the court says he must be cleared, he will be cleared. So I think let's have faith in our judiciary, and I believe judiciary will uphold the political rights of not only Sonko but all other Kenyans who wants to participate.
My question I wanted to ask you is, an impeachment process is a political process.
Yes.
And then Governor Sonko now went to court to seek, for legal redress.
Yes.
Perhaps we would argue that Chebukati was basing his nullification of Governor Sonko from vying based on the legal process that Governor Sonko is still undergoing. That you are impeached, you went to court, but until you're cleared by the court, you know what, I can still not clear you. Could that be the reason why Chebukati disqualified him until this matter is settled by court?
No,
that is when he'll be given that green light to contest.
No, Victor. IBC is a party in that constitutional petition against Sonko. IBC actually, they have an advocate on record in that case.
Okay.
Yeah. So them coming out and saying, it's like now already they have already decided, because you see, under the law, IBC have their own internal dispute resolution mechanisms. So if they say that, then they expect now Sonko and Wiper goes to IBC and they seek to be heard by IBC. They heard all the time, Victor. That's what I'm saying. The timing is suspicious. They could be, and I agree with you, they could be coming from a point where they're saying, let the court decide, then we'll clear you. But the timing is that since they are parties, since they are parties in that ongoing case, why are they preempting the decision by the court? They are just fair to say, for now, so Governor, we can't clear you, and then this case is over. They are just fair to say that.
All right.
Yes.
Let's just leave it at that.
Yes.
Noordean, your closing remarks. Perhaps Chapter 6 is now, this is going to set a clean precedent to some of the contestants and even the governors, senators who are vying for these political seats. We all know who Governor Sonko is, and we can now see the kind of process is going through. He cannot vie for a political seat moving forward. Is it a clear signal that, hey, you're running for that political office, but you must be so keen and take care of this Chapter 6 in that booklet called the Constitution?
You see, that's the threshold for anyone seeking office. You see, that is number 1, Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
But if you look at the first term, most of the governors had cases all over flying around.
Now, you see, the problem is how we started this Constitution, all right? By virtue of how the deputy and the president were having a case outside the country. People here say that they cannot run, then they ran, then they won. That is what the defense Sonko is using, that they actually had cases against humanity. Now you see, for example, like you just rightfully said, we had so many governors in the first term who had cases. Now in IBC, what they're using Article 75(3). Dismissal from office, courtesy of integrity. Now they're saying you can't hold any office. Now you see that now that is subject to interpretation, because also in impeachments, like we rightly said, impeachments are political. You can be as clean as they come, but because we want to finish you politically, you make sure I impeach you before you finish your term, because now I'll try and make sure Article 75 applies because you have been dismissed. So the law as it is, for example, the Constitution, it does have loopholes, and these are certainly loopholes that we are seeing, which we need to find how we are going to tighten them, because anything in politics is either pre-planned or actually an execution.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, I believe the law needs to apply equally. If, for example, we are trying to fight corruption, and I'm seeking office, all right? I'm in the office right now and I have issues. Yes, I have to, the law says I have to exalt every single avenue that I have. But if I have issues of impropriety and what have you, and then person X has the same issues, but I get cleared, is not cleared. You see, that clearly shows there is a problem somewhere. So moving forward, the law must apply equally to everyone. Otherwise, we'll be talking about how we're fighting corruption, and that will be like how you work in Naivas in a quick mat uniform. It can never work, you get me? So moving forward, I believe, for example, the threshold is that now all impeached governors, like they said, will not be cleared. That is why T2 and him and any other, all right? So at the end of the day, we go back to those who have cases. So my question is, for example, like Evans Kidero, who just got cleared yesterday,
Yes.
has issues, all right? So if he wins, for example, in Homa Bay, then it is declared that he is guilty. That means now he has to leave office. That is yet another issue. You know, those are the things we need to tighten moving forward. And also, like he talked about the time frame. Because if you have all these things, for example, why didn't you work on them before now? Because it's more or less like you're working on impulse, which doesn't solve anything. So moving forward, I believe, one, our preparation needs to be top-notch. And then two, the law must apply equally. There should be no sacred cows or some animals are more equal to others. Because, and then that isn't a law. Because a law that is actually for one or two people doesn't make it a law. It becomes null and void.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I think that's the best point to close this discussion. I must say that I think I qualify to go to Kenya School of Law.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I support that.
Yes, you do.
Courtesy of the two gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming to the show. That is Noordean, Khagai, as well as Kevin Katisya. Very brilliant heads. We've just discussed matters, politics, and what transpired over the week. Remember, clearing of candidates ends tomorrow, and then the Gazette notice will be out on 9th as per the IEBC timeline. Let's wait and see how that will pan out. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. My name is Victor Oloo. We are taking a break, but the show continues at the other side of the break. Good morning.